Vote on the bill. Yield back.
Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, may I inquire how much time each side has?
Gentleman from Texas has 4 minutes remaining, and the gentleman from California has 1 3/4 minutes remaining.
In that case, Mr. Speaker, I will yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 1 minute.
So I thank the chairman for yielding me the minute. So what I was trying to do in a bipartisan manner was, which is how you ended your comments, was let's move this bipartisan piece of amendment to this bill, was ask the question, is simply what you're trying to do is to require that investment advisors, that they would have to have, you're saying, a fiduciary duty going forward? That's what you're trying to do, to add to this bill? I heard you say that, and I heard Mr. Miller say that. That was my question to you. You said it once. Mr. Miller said it twice. I made a note of it each time. That's my question. That's what you basically want us to do. You want us to make it the law that an investment advisor would have to have a fiduciary standard to do in the best interest, if you will. I'll yield to the gentleman.
That's because just have a fiduciary relationship to the people they're taking money from to invest. I do, and I think the law should reflect that. Absolutely.
Okay. Earlier I said I often wonder whether people who come to the floor to oppose some of our bills ever actually read the bill. Now I'm going to go further than that.
I yield the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized for an additional half minute.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go a step further, and I wonder whether the people who oppose this bill actually know what the law is. The law is, and has been for decades, that if you're an investment advisor, you already have a fiduciary standard with regard to your client. That is the current law. Already, the investment advisor and anyone going through a ERISA plan has a fiduciary standard. That is, I think what you're talking about is a broker-dealer. A broker-dealer. Exactly. That's why I asked both of you twice what you said. What you said on the floor and what you just said a moment ago is you were talking about broker-dealers, but you said it was investment advisors. It just points out, Mr. Speaker,
very
that they come to the floor without absolutely understanding what the law is, and once again, we encourage the lady from Spagner's bill to go unamended.
Gentleman's time has expired. Members are again reminded to direct their remarks to the chair. Gentleman from California is recognized and has 2 1/4 minutes remaining.
Does the gentleman have additional speakers? I have no further speakers other than myself.
I have no further speakers. Mr. Speaker, I believe I have the right to close.
Yes.
That is correct. Gentleman from California is recognized.
So let me get this straight. You can talk about the advisors having a fiduciary responsibility and obligation under the law, but then you can have the broker-dealers come in and close a deal, and they can provide conflicted advice and, in fact, conflicted products with the best interest of this retired individual who's trying to invest their funds. Very clever. But this comes from an industry. We saw the banks sell a tranche of mortgages to their best friends and customers and then immediately bid against the success of that tranche of mortgages. So conflicted advice can be very profitable. They worked it to a fairly well among the big players. But now you come in with your $100,000, your $80,000 in your retirement funds, and you want to make an investment, and you want some advice, and you want to talk to a broker. And the broker says, oh, yes, we have exactly the product for you. In fact, he's been told, or she's been told, to sell this product. Even though it's not the best performing product, it may not be a match for this couple, but it has the highest commissions for the firm and for the broker. That's what they do. And what you're suggesting is that should be written into the law, that conflict of interest. And you talk about all the terrible things that happen. But you know, when the Think Advisor fiduciary study was done in 2013, 67% said the fiduciary, this is of the investment industry, 68% said the fiduciary standard will not reduce products or services. 79% says it does not cost more to work as a fiduciary. And 65% said the fiduciary standard will not price investors out of the market. So the industry says that, but you have a whole theory how this is doomsday for the small investor. It's just not so. What you're doing is protecting the right of brokers to give you conflicted advice about the investment of your money, and they knowingly do it. And you're saying that the industry cannot continue unless they're allowed to continue to give conflicted advice. That's why we have conflicts of interest laws, because we don't allow people to do this when they have a responsibility. We should vote for this amendment and vote against the bill.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Texas.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. How much time do I have remaining?
Gentleman from Texas has 2½ minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, I think the audio system on the House floor is working quite well, and so I continue to be somewhat amazed by the number of speakers who get up and claim that broker-dealers can engage in conflicts of interest. Again, I will give the citation for the duty to disclose conflicts of interest. FINRA, Suitability Rule 2111. I would encourage those who haven't read it to actually read it so that we could actually have facts on the House floor. And Mr. Speaker, what is truly radical here is the proponents of this amendment trying to upset 80 years of settled law without any evidence that is compelling to somehow believe that all of a sudden we're going to help a universe of people who most of us believe, including half of the Democrats on the Financial Services Committee, believe instead will be hurt, including a number of prominent Democratic senators believe they will be hurt. Working moms and pops trying to provide for their family, trying to manage their nest eggs, having a new standard forced upon people they rely on, and so all of a sudden that investment advice is either going to get more expensive, it's going to disappear. All of a sudden IRAs for working moms at prices they can afford disappear, all because we hear rhetoric about Wall Street. Well, I don't know what this, I don't think I've had any letters of endorsement from anybody in Wall Street. I mean, we can talk about something else that's not applicable. Perhaps we can talk about Obamacare. Always happy to have that discussion once again. But again, this is a bipartisan bill. All we're trying to do is ensure if 80 years of settled law that has helped working families is about to be upset, then we better have proof it's going to help the people that it claims to help. The amendment from the gentleman from California would totally eviscerate that, and so I urge opposition. I yield back the balance of my time.
All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to the rule, the previous question is ordered on the bill as amended and on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Miller. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, further consideration of H.R. 2374 is postponed. Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess for a period less than 15 minutes.
The House this afternoon has been debating a bill dealing with the authority of